Welcome everyone to the Town of Greater Napanee Committee of Adjustment for the 24th day of September 2024. I just want to remind everybody that this evening's Committee of Adjustment will be placed on our YouTube channel and live streamed so the folks at home can watch, and the folks that are here obviously can go home and watch it later on if they wish. So having said that, and I apologize, we had a little bit of an extended closed session, so we're a little bit late getting started with the Committee of Adjustments. So I apologize that to the folks that are watching at home. So having said all that, we'll call the meeting to order. We'll look for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Moved by Councillor Hicks, seconded by Councillor Martin. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? Seeing none. Look for a motion for the adoption of the minutes for the Committee of Adjustment for the 10th day of September 2024 to be received and adopted. Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Shank. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. The first matter on our Committee of Adjustment this evening is land severance application. Land severance application PLCOR 2024-035 C. Thierrin-Nemeth 7685 County Road 2, legal description, concession 6 East, part lot 25, and RP 29R7394, part 1, former geographic township of North Fredericksburgh. And before we get started, is there anyone here this evening to speak for or against this application? I see, oh, you're the applicant, sir? Okay, that's we'll put you in that category. So we'll give you an opportunity to speak if you wish, and if you do, you can come up to the front, but you don't have to if you don't want to. We'll start off with Mr. Nobes, and Mr. Nobes can give us the rundown as to what this application is all about. So the floor is yours, Michael.
Thank you, Worship. This application before the committee is seeking to sever a 1.2 hectare lot from an existing 15 hectare rural property. The lands are currently used predominantly for a Christmas tree farm, but it is developed with a single detached residence and a number of outbuildings. The proposal is to effectively separate the house along with the outbuildings and leave a larger retained approximately 14 hectare property following the severance. Staff are supportive of the application. The lot is functioning. It's in existence today. There's nothing proposed to be changed imminently on the property to be severed. The lot is already serviced with a private well and private sewage system, which are functioning adequately. The proposed conditions are standard conditions, less the installation of a well as we would normally see with a new vacant lot, given that it's an existing parcel. It does not require a well to be installed on that residential sized parcel to be removed from the land holding. And the size of the retained parcel exceeds the minimum 4 hectare threshold where we would see a well being installed on a retained parcel if it were to be created and result in a parcel that would be of a residential size. So the only, I'll say, unusual type of condition is that staff are proposing that a minor variance be applied for and successfully approved, which has been applied for and is another item on the agenda this evening to allow for the recognition of the existing accessory building heights to allow them to exceed the residential accessory building height limit. So as they are today, they're part of the agricultural property. The agricultural buildings have a much higher height allowance for buildings. And with them being located on the proposed residential parcel, they would exceed that limit for new building construction under the zoning bylaw. Given that they're in existence today, staff are supportive of the application in principle, given that need for the variance. So there are 2 buildings. One building needs a half a meter amount of relief, and the other requires relief up to from 6.5 meters up to 8.3 meters, and that is the barn in the very northeast corner of that property. So the application was circulated to various agencies with commentary attached, and along with staff, agencies are in support of the application. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that the committee might have.
Thanks, Michael. Is there any questions for Michael with respect to this application? Councillor Napanee.
Thank you, Worship. Through you, I was going to wait till a little bit later in the agenda, but you did bring it up about the minor variance, and I just wanted to know if with the minor variance, will that stay with the building? Like, what happens if it burns down? Will they now have to apply for the new regulations?
Through your worship, the recognition of the variance, if the building were to be catch fire and cease to exist, reconstruction would be permitted because there would be recognition given for that specific building in that specific location through that pending application.
Okay, great. So my understanding is just is that it stays with the building and that's it. Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks, Councillor Pennell. Is there any other questions or comments for Michael with respect to this application? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation that the committee receive for information the technical report regarding application PLCOR 2024-035, and further that the application to sever a 1.2 hectare lot from a 15 hectare rural property be granted subject to a number of conditions that are contained within our agenda this evening. Moved by Councillor Shank, seconded by Councillor Hicks. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Next matter up, lot applications, lot addition applications, land severance application PLLA 2022-083, 1966780 Ontario Inc., 380 Camden Road, legal description, parks, lots 3 and 4, WS Camden Road, RP, or 29R 3388, Part 1, former town of Greater Napanee. And once again, I see that the applicant is here this evening, and you'll be given an opportunity, Andrew, if you want to speak to it. And I don't see anybody else speaking against. So having said that, Michael, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Worship. So this was a previously approved lot addition at 380 Camden Road, which is a larger sized residential property. And the effect of that application and approval was to take some a larger area of that parcel and add it to a currently vacant larger landholding to the south. One of the conditions that was imposed upon that approval was for the demolition of an existing outbuilding on that residential parcel, which is currently accessory to the 380 Camden Road residential property. In the eyes of the zoning bylaw, where there's an existing permitted use that is, if I call it a residential use in this case, that building would be accessory to that use. The condition was imposed because the land to be added, which includes this building, does not currently have a use, and therefore that building would not be considered accessory to any type of use. So the proposal was to demolish that building as condition number 7 in that previous approval. The applicant has requested an extension to the earlier of development of the lands of the currently vacant larger undeveloped lands or until September 1st, 2027, whichever comes earlier. So this is before the committee as the applicant is making this request. This is outside of staff's purview, as this is a proposed amendment to a condition that was imposed by the committee, and staff are bringing it forward for the committee's consideration. Given that the building's existing today, there really wouldn't be much change in functionality in staff's opinion. So we're supportive of the application and the request. And we believe that there are safeguards that we can put in place through the proposed development agreement to ensure that that building is ultimately demolished by those the earlier of those two dates. And staff are certainly understanding and respect the committee's decision, whatever way the committee would like to go with this. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that there may be.
Great. Thanks, Michael. Is there any questions or comments for Michael with respect to this, Deputy Mayor Cower?
So the original application was given 2 years to demolish this building. And now they're asking for another 3 years, so it's a total of 5 years. What happens if we grant this 5 years? Are we going to be back here again asking for another extension, or where are we at with that?
Through your worship, in order to safeguard that concern, a special clause within any development agreement could, I'll say, bind the proponent to not requesting a further exemption or further extension in the future, if that would be the will of the committee.
Thanks, Michael. Deputy Mayor Carver.
No, that's good for now. Thank you.
Is there any other questions or comments with respect to the application that's in front of us? Seeing none, I guess my only concern is that the application was done in the last term of council, and now, even though there are conditions with respect to that, it may not get dealt with until the next term of council. And we're doing a bit of a leapfrog here. And that would be my concern is that I don't know whether we should go beyond this term of council to ensure, even though it was done last term of council, whether we should leapfrog this term of council into the next term of council. So that would be my concern with respect to the September 1st, 2027 date. But is there any other comments that have come out of my comments? Deputy Mayor Carver.
No, I totally agree with you, Your Worship, because again, it takes it from the last term of council, which granted us originally, past this term into the next term of council. And maybe we could even do something, give another year or something. I don't know. I just don't like to see it go into the next term of council. It's not great.
Yeah, come on up, Andrew. I was going to suggest maybe you can come up and, yep, come on up to the front. We just get you, yeah, I'll give you, what you have to do is you have to push the button on the right and hold it as you're speaking. And what I got to get you to do is just identify, we all know who you are, but we got to identify for the folks that are at home who you are and what you're speaking to. So whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Andrew Isbester, owner, operator 1966780 Ontario Inc. We sold a building. The only reason I'm asking for this is because we have it full of just construction, leftover construction products. And I just hate to knock it down just to have it sit there for another 3 years and be unuseful. That's the only reason. I could go buy another C-can and fill all the construction products in there, no problem at all. I'm just seeking, it could be a year. I may come back another year. I could actually, I haven't shared it with Michael yet, but we're already in the process right now of putting a site plan together for a very large development there for more housing for the community. So I don't see it being there or me even asking. I have no issue in honoring. If it's a year, fine. If it's not, it's just the November snuck up on me. I've got to do the lot addition. The lawyers basically said, you have a condition to satisfy here. Is the building done? I'm like, oh, no, it's not. So then that's why I asked. That's the only reason. Like, we could go and knock it down. It's takes a quick, 4 days to empty it out and a quick swipe of a shovel to knock it down. That's not an issue whatsoever. All I'm asking for is just to be able to, use a building for the time being is all. It definitely will not be any part of any development that we do there, though.
Okay, no, great. Thanks, Andrew. And Councillor Shank, go ahead.
So I'll move staff recommendation with the change that September 1st, 2027 to September 1st, 2026. Still retains in this this term of council that satisfies Andrew's needs and satisfy the council's needs. So that's the reason why I'm making that motion.
Great, thank you, Councillor Shank. Motion moved by Councillor Shank, seconded by Councillor Hicks. Madam Clerk, do you have what you require? Okay, we do have a motion. We do have a motion on the floor. Go ahead, Councillor Shank. I think you may want to say something else.
No, I went ahead and made that decision. There's the boss that does it every day. So I'm like, does that sound great with you?
Through your worship, that's satisfactory to staff. We can certainly build in any clause or provision that the committee may wish to impose.
Thanks. No, that's quite all right, Councillor Shank. We do have a motion on the floor. Is there any other questions or comments or concerns with respect to the motion that's on the floor? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks, Andrew. Next up, we do have a minor variance application. Minor variance application PLVAR 2024-034-1966780, Ontario Inc., 14, 16, 18, 20, and 24 Bridge Street West. And there is a legal description of 14 Bridge Street West, part lot 4, WS Center Street, lot 6, WS Center Street, plan 82, part 1, 29R 2544, former town of Greater Napanee. 16 to 20 Bridge Street West is part lot 4, ES Robert Street, lot 5, ES Robert Street, lots 4 and 5, WS Center Street, plan 82, part 1, 29R 952, former town of Greater Napanee. Once again, I believe we have the applicant here, Mr. Isbester, and I don't see anyone else here speaking against. Michael, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Worship. This application is also tied to an item on the council agenda that will be following this meeting. The effect of the application before council coming afterwards is to essentially reestablish the lot lines within these parcels that were in place for many number of years. There was an inadvertent merger on title through common ownership adjacent for abutting properties. Excuse me. So the effect of the application is that while these lots used to exist separately and separately conveyable, an inadvertent change on title forced those lots to merge under the eyes of the Planning Act and through the registry. So there is no proposed change in the functioning of the properties. The buildings already exist, but they were constructed too close to the lot lines that are proposed to be reestablished through the lifting of part lot control to then establish those lots on title. So I hope that makes sense for the committee. The reason that this minor variance is being considered this evening is because although those buildings exist and those lot lines used to be in place, they've effectively vanished off title and are proposed to be going back exactly where they were. But these buildings are too close to those lot lines, and by reestablishing them, we need to confirm zoning compliance prior to doing so. I hope that makes sense. It's challenging to describe it, but if there's any clarification required, I hope I can provide that. So effectively what we have is going from west to east. At 24 Bridge Street West, there is a single detached residence and then a triplex east thereof and a single detached residence east of the triplex. And the triplex is too close to those lot lines and the single detached are too close to those common lot lines. So they've been there forever, not forever, but quite a long time. Those lot lines unfortunately disappeared and now they're proposed to be reestablished for legal purposes. So staff are supportive of the application, and we're happy to answer any questions that the committee might have.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Michael. Is there any questions for Michael with respect to this application? Councillor Shank.
Mike, the survey was done August 30th, 1983. These buildings were built before 1983? All right.
Through your worship,
Now-
correct.
Now, the point is the rules back then were if they were both bought in the same name, they automatically became one. Now, the rule has changed from what I understand now. Once severed, always severed, correct? Unless it's the other way.
Yeah, through your worship, correct to a degree. So these, when there is a subdivision plan created, there can be multiple ownerships all in the same name abutting. They won't merge because they're lots on a plan of subdivision. These are part lots on the plan. So given that they're not whole lots, they're part lots, they merged. And throughout the course of time, this merger inadvertently occurred. Yes, there has been a change in the act where there's ownership on title of one parcel and a slightly different ownership on another. So for example, owner A on one parcel and then owner A and B on an abutting parcel. If owner B were to pass away, it then becomes owned by owner A and owner A, then they merge. That used to happen and the merger would occur. This happened This merger happened at that time. Over the past year, the province changed the act so that that does not occur anymore. So this occurred prior to that change, unfortunately.
Just so I understand it, so therefore, if I bought a lot and I bought it as M Shank, and I bought another lot right beside it and bought it as M Shank, I don't have any fear of them automatically merging when they go to the registry office.
Through your worship, when they're whole lots on a plan of subdivision, correct. If they are not lots on a plan of subdivision, then there's a challenge. However, if there were a consent approval given to create one of those lots, then the rule, once a consent, always a consent, comes into place. So you could just re-register that lot. Yeah.
My question is, if I bought a farm here, all right, let's say there's 100 acres here, and I bought it as M Shank. I bought another farm right beside it as M Shank. They don't automatically merge, correct?
If they were not created through consent, they would merge. If one of them were created through consent, then they would merge, but you could just easily recreate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Michael. Is there any other questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Cover.
I just motion to go with staff recommendation.
We have a staff recommendation moved by Deputy Mayor Calvert that the committee receive for information the technical report regarding minor variance application PLVAR 2024-034 and further that the application requesting a variance from the town of Greater Napanee zoning bylaw 02-22 be approved with the following conditions that are contained within our agenda this evening. So seconded by Councillor Norrie. Is there any further comments, questions, or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion is carried. Next up, minor variance application PLVAR 2024-036. C. Thierrin-Nemeth, 7685 County Road 2, legal description, concession 6E, part lot 25 and RP 29R7 394, part 1, former geographic township of North Fredericksburgh. And I know that the applicant's husband is here this evening if we have any questions. And Michael, the floor is yours when you're ready.
Thank you, Worship. So as previously alluded to under the first item on the agenda this evening, this is the variance to address the very recently imposed condition to allow for the existing accessory buildings to remain in their current configuration and exceed the height limit for residential accessory buildings. These buildings have been in place for many number of years. They're part of the landscape. The staff are not anticipating that by creating the residential sized parcel, including these buildings, that there would be any adverse impacts to neighboring properties. And staff are supportive of the applicant retaining those buildings and using them for accessory residential purposes, which would likely see the buildings being kept in good repair for the foreseeable future. So staff are supportive of the application and happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thanks, Michael. Is there any questions or comments for Michael with respect to his presentation of the application that's before us? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation the committee receive for information the technical report regarding minor variance application PLVAR 2024-036 and further that the application requesting variances from the town of Greater Napanee zoning bylaw 02-22 section 4.1.4 to permit increased height for existing buildings be approved with respect and as long with the following conditions that are contained within the agenda this evening. Moved by Councillor Shank, seconded by Deputy Mayor Calver. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? The motion is carried, and we'll look for a motion for adjournment at the Committee of Adjustment. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Martin. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thanks, folks. We'll see you in about 5 minutes for the regular session of council.